Professor's big board top five. What do you got for us this week, Ken Man?
Well, there is the biggest story probably in American media right now, particularly if you watch one, let's say, a little stilted news network. The good people over there at Fox News have been covering the hell out of this. And so we decided it was time to launch our second big board investigation. The big board investigation's a newer twist to the big board. We started with our big board first investigation, the big board of is John Morant retarded?
No, you weren't supposed to
And
say.
we're going to follow that up with our second big board investigation,
Oh no, retard.
the big board investigation of who left Coke in the White House. For those of you who are unfamiliar, and I don't know how you could be unfamiliar with this story because it's all anybody is talking about. Somebody left a bag of cocaine in the White House, and the Secret Service eventually discovered it sitting in a cubby in an office just off the library, where both visitors to the White House, state level visitors, and occasionally maybe even private visitors, not tourists, don't get access to this, but official visitors to the White House, and of course, White House staff have access to this room. So they are wondering who left the cocaine in the White House. And there's been a lot of speculation about that. And we here at the big board have some opinions about who might have left some cocaine in the White House. And we're going to talk about it because we have a couple of suspects here down the list a little bit that nobody is talking about, but who we think probably should be the prime suspect in this. But let's start with number 5.
Okay.
And number 5 is the one that everybody is talking about, and that is, it was probably Hunter. Let's be honest. The president has a cokehead son.
Yep.
And, he's had some adventures, although it is worth noting in terms of people who have obviously made Hunter the huge betting favorite on who left coke in the White House. Hunter, as far as I know, was a crack guy. He wasn't a powdered cocaine. And this was a bag of powder. Now, I don't know that much about cocaine. I've never smoked crack. I don't really know. I don't hang out with a bunch of cokeheads. But my understanding is once you become a crack guy, you don't go back to the powder. The powder doesn't do it for you anymore once you've smoked the crack. So that, to me, takes Hunter down a couple of pegs because this was not about a bag of crack they found. It was a bag of crack and a crack pipe. It would pretty clearly be Hunter. And secondly, given Hunter's reputation, given all the news media around Hunter, don't you think the Secret Service is checking Hunter's pockets when he comes to visit Dad? Don't you feel they're giving him the little pat down? Like, Hunter, do you have a crack pipe on you? Like, we got to check your pockets. But I'm going to say, for all the shit that Hunter has taken over the last, 2 years, don't we have to, in the list of idiot relatives to presidents, have to give Hunter a little credit? I mean, let's be honest here. Hunter organized this while smoking crack and out there banging the foulest street hookers he could find, because those pictures were not the pictures of a guy who has millions and millions of dollars. That's not the level of hooker you would expect that to find that guy with. Okay, while Hunter is out there ruining his teeth that have to be capped, and all the other pictures we've seen of Hunter, well, he's doing this at the same time that he is scamming tens of millions of dollars out of Ukrainian businessmen and Chinese government officials and all these other people, and doing so successfully, so successfully that at this point, these people know there's a decent chance Hunter didn't do shit in terms of, paying off his dad, because we can't find any evidence, and may have just stolen all their money, and they're still not willing to come forward and talking about it. Like, when you run a scam where the victims of your scam aren't willing to testify, that's a hell of a... Roger Clinton's not pulling off that goddamn scam. Can you imagine Billy Carter back in the 80s scamming Brezhnev for like $50 million? It would probably be like $5 million back in those days. But whatever, scamming the Russians, scamming Lech Walesa for like $10 million and getting away with it. Hell no. Like, in the list of idiot children and relatives of presidents, Hunter Biden's got to be one of the greatest grifters of all time. Like, put some respect on the man's name. He managed to run one of the greatest scams in the history of scams. A scam so good that his victims still aren't willing to talk about it. while smoking crack and banging street hookers off the corners of Trenton. That's impressive. Look,
Impressive.
compare it this way. One of the big early stories of the Bush administration was when the Bush twins got caught and arrested in Austin, Texas for trying to get into a bar with a fake ID. And if you remember back in those days, the Bush twins were hot. They were quite a piece of ass. Do you know what level of idiot you have to be to get busted with a fake ID in a bar when you're a hot blonde piece of ass? You have to be the biggest Karen moron in the history of the world. And that's exactly what happened to them. Hunter's out scamming the Ukraine for like $50 million, and they're still not willing to talk to him. I'm saying, let's put a little respect on Hunter's name. Like, you can say what you want to say, but in honor of Degenerate Friday, this man's a high-level degenerate right here.
Yes, he's high functioning. He may be the definition of high functioning addict. All right, that was number 5.
That's number 4.
That was number 5.
Upcoming number 4.
Yeah.
And that's our first suspect surrounding a certain event, which is, for those who have forgotten, there was an event in early June, right around the time this was discovered. There was a large-scale White House visit where apparently they did, in fact, have access to this room. And that takes us to number 4 on our list of the big board investigation candidates to have left the bag of coke in the White House. Party boy Travis Kelce.
100%. That's 100% Kelce.
Because I'm going to say, you're visiting the White House, and you look, Patrick Mahomes, he's got the nice, it is light blue,
dressed.
but it's during the summer. But it is a suit and tie, good shoes. Travis Kelce came to the White House to party.
Looks like he was at Live.
And if you remember, at some point during the press conference, Travis Kelce tried to grab the microphone, and Patrick Mahomes pushed him into the first row.
No.
To keep Travis Kelce from talking. And based on the outfit, I understand why Patrick Mahomes did that. You were about to go forward and embarrass the hell out of her. Look at that. Imagine showing the White House in a red club suit, a black T-shirt with no collar and no tie, and a pair of Air Jordans. That is a man who did not come to the White House for an official celebration. That is not a man who came to the White House for the state dinner. That is a man who came to the White House to have a party.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, if you saw the pictures from this weekend where Travis Kelce celebrated the 4th of July by DJing at an EDM concert while wearing a Sean Kemp Cavaliers jersey.
Oh, jeez.
That is a man who is trying to live the Gronk lifestyle. That is a man who is trying to live the Midwestern Gronk. And I feel like we're going to turn on Travis Kelce because we kind of like him at this point.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's being now held up by his brother because his brother's offensive lineman guy who, even though he's the biggest offensive lineman contract in the history of the NFL, lives on a farm and drives a pickup truck. And it's wholesome Midwestern guy. He's got the beard. Looks like every Midwestern farmer dude ever. Yep. I feel like that is keeping us from adopting the fact that Travis Kelce is now just Cleveland Gronk. He's Gronk from Cleveland. They're the same dude.
Gronk from Cleveland.
But just based on the suit alone, in terms of who left the coke in the White House, I got to say, Travis Kelce deserves to be on the suspect list.
Yeah, I don't think 4 is high enough. I'm really curious how your top 3 is, because just looking at this outfit, that screams Miami Beach club, leaving the bathroom with white stuff on their face.
Number 3,
a lot of time in Miami.
Number 3 is higher than Travis Kelce just because we know the history here, and that is an important distinction. So who do you, if you're wondering number 3, it's again, the timing's a little off because this dinner took place in late May and it wasn't discovered to July, but sometimes a bag of coke can just sort of sit there and then it falls out of the little hole, you hit it in, and maybe it gets discovered a month later. Number 3, well, we know Brittany Griner likes drugs.
No.
And we know she was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Griner.
We don't know if she officially made it into the White House, but she was at the Correspondents' Dinner, so she was in D.C. where they met the Bidens. And we know if you're Brittany Griner at this point, you feel like you're above the law, right? Mm. Because if they will trade the world's biggest arms dealer, the most dangerous man on the planet, according to the FBI and the CIA at one point back in the 90s and the 2000s, if they will trade him for you,
Yeah.
You might feel above the law at this point. You might feel like you are the type of person who can bring a bag of coke into the White House. And again, we know she likes the drugs. So I feel like even though this will be somewhat controversial, Brittany Griner has to go on the suspect list. Right? Because what happened? She came back to the WNBA and her coach like introduced the press conference is like, I can't believe Brittany Griner came back to the league and we didn't have a sellout in the WNBA for Brittany's return game home. Really? Because has there ever been a sellout in the WNBA?
Sorry, Sarny.
I mean, legitimately, has there ever been a true sellout? Like sold
Maybe.
every seat in the stadium, not
I don't
we sold all the bottom level, like a true sellout. Has that ever happened? So I feel like Brittany Griner's maybe head being a little inflated at this point after she was traded for Victor Boot. So she has to go on our suspect list right in the middle there. Brittany Griner, we know she's a fan of the drugs.
It's just marijuana. Like, relax.
No, it wasn't marijuana. It was hash. And
Oh,
when
it's
when you are trying to sneak a hash pipe
yeah.
into Russia, like, did you not see Midnight Express? Did you not know what happened? I'm not saying that means she's come home and jumped to cocaine, but I'm not saying that didn't happen either. Because again, at this point, I feel like Brittany Griner's like they traded the most dangerous arms dealer in the history of humanity for me. I can do whatever the hell I want. If Brittany Griner at some point during the year goes on a crime spree because she's like, I'm Brittany Griner and I'm above the law, I would not be
Yeah,
surprised.
it's not shocking. Yeah, I mean, they traded literally the scariest guy on the planet for her. I mean, it took some time, but I presume the way that it was being tracked, she was okay in Russia. All right. So that's number 3. The
Number
top
2, and our top 2 suspects here, we have to look at a certain combination of personality and status.
Mhm.
Personality, you have to be the kind of idiot cokehead who would bring a bag of coke to the White House. You have to be such an entitled moron that you think you can walk into the most secure building on the planet
Yeah.
with a bag of cocaine and get away with it. And status wise, you have to, in one way or another, through one relation or another, be such a big deal that you are the type of person who gets to go into the private residence of the White House, to the presidential library of the White House, without being patted down by the Secret Service. And that leads us to our top 2 suspects. Number 2, and I feel this person meets these criteria well. Again, idiot, probable cokehead, entitled scumbag, but also important enough to get by security with a pat down. And that takes us to number 2, Brittany Mahomes.
Oh, I think I know number 1 then.
We've all seen Brittany Mahomes' behavior in public where she sprays a bottle of champagne all over Kansas City fans when it's minus 20 degrees out in Arrowhead Stadium. That's an entitled scumbag right there. That's the kind of idiot who thinks people are going to be happy to be sprayed with cold ass champagne in freezing weather. Gonna say, given her general behavior, and by the way, if people don't know this picture this week, Brittany Mahomes took a bunch of grief from PETA because she molested a dolphin while she was on vacation. And I'm never on the side of PETA, but any opportunity to slam Brittany Mahomes, I'm on the side of PETA on this particular. I don't actually like the Dolphins. Clearly, don't like this behavior.
No, it's bad.
That's why, for those of you who don't know, the Dolphins have actually attempted to rape women during these things because that's how angry Dolphins are not angry animals. Dolphins like to play with the balls and swim with people, but they're so tired of these kind of interactions that they've actually turned to rape as their revenge.
That's the thing.
That tells you how the Dolphins feel about this. I'm just going to say Brittany Mahomes does kind of seem like the type of person who would try to sneak a bag of cocaine into the White House.
She's involved.
And I feel because she is who she is, Secret Service probably isn't patting down Patrick Mahomes' wife right before the Kansas City Chiefs do their big celebration with Joe Biden in the White House. That's just my personal opinion. And, they're courting votes in the Midwest anyway, so you don't want to offend Brittany Mahomes right before the elections are getting ready to ramp up the primaries. Number 2 candidate, Brittany Mahomes. That's true. And I think everybody now knows who our number 1 candidate is, and that, of course, is the man who actually did this, Jackson Mahomes. And for people who are wondering, this is about a year ago at a concert he attended with his brother and his wife Brittany and Patrick's wife Brittany.
Sister-in-law,
This
yeah.
is a picture of Jackson Mahomes putting something in his nose and then wiping his nose at a concert 5 minutes later. That showed up all over the internet at the time. So I'm just saying it looks like we do have a little bit of a history with the powder here, of some sort of powder. I'm not saying it's necessarily cocaine. Maybe he's got an allergy problem. Maybe he's taking his Zyrtec in a way that nobody else ever has by snorting it. But go on the list again here. Idiot, check.
Mhm.
Cokehead, certainly looks like it's possible.
Yep.
Entitled scumbag. Well, there is no bigger entitled scumbag than Jackson Mahomes. We know that from his sexual assault case, from the way he has ripped Kansas City restaurants and bars for making him wait 5 minutes, and big enough deal to possibly get into the White House without a pat down from the Secret Service. Well, again, Patrick Mahomes' brother on Kansas City Chiefs Day. And on top of it, Jackson Mahomes is actually a TikTok star. He's a major influencer.
Yeah.
So a guy, maybe the Secret Service wouldn't actually pat down. Maybe they didn't know about Jackson Mahomes. But I'm saying if I had to place a bet on this,
Yeah.
Jackson Mahomes should clearly be the favorite on
Yeah.
who terms of who snuck cocaine in the White House. And that, folks, is our big board investigation, part two of the big board investigation, where we're just dealing in the facts here of who snuck cocaine into the White House.